And joining me today to talk about a very interesting question is my colleague, physicist, Dr. Jeff Zweerink. Welcome, Jeff.
Hi, Krista. Good to be on the show today.
So I know that you're working on a book on artificial intelligence, and it's a subject I don't know too much about. So maybe you can start us off by talking about what is the big deal with artificial intelligence? What are they trying to do with that research?
Well, the answer to that kind of depends on who you talk to. There are some who are just saying, you know what? The more we can use computers to understand or at least analyze data well, the more data we can feed to them, the better they can do things that are useful to us, like analyze X-ray images to find tumors or breaks or things wrong in lungs, or help to navigate or just do things that are beneficial for humanity. There's some that's really the end goal. But when I think about artificial intelligence, I think most people are thinking of the R2D2s, the C3POs, the HALs, or you kind of come earlier, maybe the Vision from the Marvel universe, things where you've built a computer that now has an artificial intelligence, something that can think and act like a human, or at least the way a human does. And then there are some who even envision that once we do that, this artificial intelligence will kind of become a superpower and almost take over the world, either save or destroy humanity. So it kind of depends on who you're talking to. There's kind of a really broad range of what the goal is with artificial intelligence research.
I'm a very simple person. I don't know much about this. And when I think of artificial intelligence, I'm wondering if we're talking about something like Siri, which I find horribly annoying because I'm always wondering if she's listening to my conversations. But is that kind of a type of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, that is. That's kind of a very low-level artificial intelligence. It's a very narrow intelligence, one that is listening to voice commands, interpreting those commands, figuring out what they need, and generating an output on the other end. I would put it it's a rather complicated task, but for an artificial intelligence, it's a rather simple task because really all it's doing is taking a bunch of input, mapping it through some very complex network of nodes and producing an output on the other side. So it hears certain words and it says, okay, that means I do this. Or if it hears a different set of words, that means something else. But it's really just correlating the input with the output. There's not a lot of thought going on, but it does a very good job of analyzing very complex relationships to find the correlations.
What would be the next step after that?
Well, kind of the next step. So again, recognizing that basically all of the artificial intelligences we have are in that kind of very correlation, low level. Basically, they see something and then they do something. It's a very straightforward, if convoluted through a network, it's a straightforward principle through the network. The next step in that would be saying, you know what, rather than just mapping the inputs to the outputs, asking the question, what happens if I intervene in the system? And so, there's a fellow who wrote a book called the Book of Why, where he talks about this kind of ladder of causation, where you get beyond that seeing to where you're actually intervening. And so the seeing would be, if people buy toothpaste, do they also buy dental floss? Now, the next level of that would saying, okay, if people actually bought toothpaste, might they also buy something else? So the data may not be there, but then the system could intervene and figure out, take some new data, basically experiment, do some scientific experiments, if you will, and see, is this other outcome? So it's intervening in what's going on rather than just mapping out this very static or complex sets of inputs and outputs. It's intervening to see what else might be going on.
So in my case, since I'm looking for a mattress, it might try to intervene and see if I would also like to buy something else unrelated to mattresses, but that would require an intervention. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, like that. So you're looking for mattresses. Obviously, that means, okay, you want to sleep better, but it might go in and say, you know what? Getting a new mattress might mean that you have back problems. Are you having back problems as well? And going and exploring that. Right now, that's a kind of an intervention. It's not just mapping the correlations, if you will. So that's kind of that next level of intelligence.
Okay. Now, as we're kind of working our way up this ladder, as you called it a minute ago, I'm wondering what that next rung is in the artificial intelligence development.
So the next ladder, or the next rung of that ladder, is where you're actually imagining things that there are no data for. And what's interesting is that humans do this seamlessly. So you're talking about buying a mattress. So do you want a soft one or a firm one? There's these very low level correlations, that seeing what's there. There's the intervening of, might you have a back problem going on there? And then the next level would be imagining things that there can't be any data for. So we might think, man, what would happen if I hadn't done that stupid bike trick 10 years ago that's causing me back problems? It's a world that doesn't exist, and there's no data on that world. But yet, as humans, we kind of think pretty seamlessly about that. We can think about those worlds that don't exist and wonder and actually get a pretty good picture. That would be that next level of causation, that next level of intelligence, if you will.
So then we're really starting to try to approach kind of human intelligence, where we're drawing connections between unrelated ideas. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
It's unrelated ideas, and there's you're kind of now getting at the boundary between intelligence and conscious, because to do that latter, where you're thinking about things that don't exist, at least with humans, one of the things we do is we're kind of asking, what's our place in all of this? And so we could imagine, what happens if I didn't do this? What happens if I weren't here? Why am I here? Do I have a purpose? And so it's kind of getting a bigger picture where you're understanding not just the correlations you can see, not even how things might be a little different or how I could get some information on things a little different, but what if the world were a whole different? What's my place in it? And that's a place where computers are very far from that. And I wonder if we're ever even going to be able to do that.
Kind of tell me what you see on the horizon as the gospel challenges with AI.
Well, I think one of the things I think this research into AI does is that it really kind of forces Christians to sit down and think, okay, what does it mean to be made in the image of God? What is it, and what are our capacities in that? Obviously, God has given us the abilities to create and make things and to invent ideas and think about our place. So there's some of that just the very nature that we're even asking these questions points towards there being something beyond the universe that we're trying to relate to, if you will. But I also think there's a strong argument you can make that in order to make consciousness, that requires something higher. I mean, basically, to do that, we are replicating ourselves. And I don't know that God has given us that facility. But even let's just say, even if he has, at the end of the day, the gospel message is that there's a creator who fashioned the universe, who put humanity in there to relate to him, and we rebelled. That necessitated, or that put in play the trajectory where God was going to come in human form as the second person of the Godhead, would become incarnate, die for our sins, pay for our bridge the gap between us and God so that we can relate to him. Even if we create other beings that can do very powerful things, that doesn't really impinge on the gospel message. And I really think this is a key part of that as well, is that I think we can create intelligences that will continually mimic human behavior more and more. But at the end of the day, the computer is not going to think about it like we do. So say you're buying a mattress, you finally found out one, you lay down on the mattress, you think, this is wonderful. Life is good because of this. This is going to make my life so much better. A computer just isn't going to do that. It's going to say, I chose a mattress. What's the next thing to do? There's not that joy of engaging with the world that comes with that consciousness, your place in the world. And I don't think that's ever going to change, or I don't think we're ever going to be able to do that. And so in that sense, the gospel is really never going to be impinged by artificial intelligence research, although we might create a tool that creates some big problems for us.
Well, very good. Well, this has been a kind of a fun little jaunt into something new for me. So I want to encourage all our viewers, if you haven't yet, go check out Jeff's blog, Impact Events. You can find it at reasons.org.